is up, squad? It's the Guru here, and welcome back to Tap Out or Cash Out. I'm here with my co-host,
Andre Petroski,
and a special guest, our boy, Big Donnie Hart, former professional wrestler. My man's got a story to tell. Donnie, how we doing, brother?
What's up, Jordan? What's up, Tap Out World? How we doing?
What's
up, Andre? Welcome back from Mexico.
Thank you, brother.
Dre is the center of the news right now, of course, in the UFC world. Had an eventful trip, huh, brother?
Yeah. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see fireworks, but the show was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought Mexico was a great place.
You guys hear that, Dre? Say that again. How'd you feel about Mexico?
I loved Mexico personally.
Dre loved Mexico. What'd you say?
Viva la Mexico! Arriba, arriba!
Arriba! You ever been to Mexico, Donnie?
Nah, I thought about running away there when I got in trouble back in the day, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's funny. When I said that, I had a feeling that was going to be your response. So, you know what? Before we get into this week's card, Donnie, why don't you tell us a little bit about that crazy story of yours?
All right, so my name's Donnie Hart. Used to go by Reckless Donnie Hart. I was a former pro wrestler. I was trained by Pretty Boy Larry Sharp, legendary trainer at the Monster Factory. Trained King Kong Bundy, Big Show, Sheamus, a lot of big time, all the big athletic big men in pro wrestling. But it's all I wanted to do my whole freaking life. People wanted to grow up. They wanted to be doctors, lawyers. I knew at an early age I wasn't that smart. I was big. I was tough. Football and pro wrestling, man. I saw Hulk Hogan when I was like 5 years old. I'd go home. I had like a speech impediment when I was young. And, school was a little rough. I'd come home and watch Hulk Hogan, Legion of Doom on TV. And they'd be like the biggest guys. I'm like, if I was that, nobody's ever going to touch me. If I was Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, I know we all like them, right? Ultimate Warrior.
Were you always bigger than everybody? Like, for the record, guys, you guys see me right here. This dude's like 3 times my size.
So I'm like 6'3", like 290 now. I was skinny when I was little.
Okay.
And, like I said, I had a speech impediment. School I went to, they had me in like the special. I had to take the little bus to school. So I'd come home, my brother would put on pro wrestling. I had an older brother, and that was like my escape. I'm like, when I'm Hulk Hogan, nobody's going to touch me.
Let me interrupt here. Why did they have you on the small bus?
Oh, come on. So
you didn't kill anyone or what, bro?
So I had a speech impediment, when I was young. So I would say an answer, and they couldn't understand me. So they put me, I was in the class with, handicapped people, real handicapped. And I wasn't that slow. Maybe a little bit, but. So that, like, when you're a young kid and you're around people in wheelchairs, people can't speak and everything, it's rough. And that was like up until I was probably 8. So, kids can be cruel, man. You're on them little buses. My brother would go on the regular bus. I'd have to go on this little bus. And a lot of hate, I feel like,
Yeah. So
now, did you learn how to fight when you were pretty young? Because you got picked on a lot.
Yeah, especially growing up with a big brother, man. It was run or fight, And eventually I realized I liked violence a lot. I liked fighting. And I'd go home.
Amen, brother.
I would try to fight. I'd do my pro wrestling moves,
Yeah. Yo, it's funny you say that, right? So we're very prideful about our sponsors around here, right? So you see right here, Power. This is actually how we met Donnie from the brothers. So Power Solar is owned by Joe Enright. And then Pat Enright owns Enright Tree Service. So when you guys hear us talk about the leg kicks, by the way, one of you guys in the near future, I know we're going to need a tree removal. So you better hit up Pat, because Pat and I were watching the fights on Saturday, and I told him, I'm like, bro, I guarantee you're going to get some. He's like, I'm just doing this to help you guys out and sponsor you guys. I'm like, bro, I guarantee you that some of these squad members are going to see your tree service and need you, and they're going to call you. So guys, don't make me a liar. Make sure you reach out to Enright's Tree Service. And then the other brother, Joe, right? This is how, with the Power, they wanted us to touch on last month. They reached 100 new installs last month for solar, guys. Dre, what's one of the benefits of solar? You talk about this great all the time.
Save a heck ton of money on your electric bill. You save a huge money with the tax break.
That's
right?
huge,
so
yes.
We 2024 was a good year. You know what I mean? And you got to pay a lot of taxes. If you got a solar, you get a tax break at the end of the year.
Yeah. And the coolest part is, like I said, these guys are so giving. They're such cool people. And you see, by the way, like, since I've been in this world with Dre, like, I just meet killer after killer. Like I said, guys that can just, like, strangle me within 3 seconds, and I have no idea what hit me. But they are very kind, and they want to give away. So stay tuned in the next couple of weeks, guys. They have a huge announcement coming that they want you guys to be a part of. So I'm not allowed to say it yet, but in the next couple of weeks, I'll be talking about it. Stay tuned to the Power website and social media for more. So after that break, Donnie, let's get back into your story.
Hold up, I still got to give you. You talk about. I'm not an expert on solar. I'm not an expert on trees, but I feel like I do have expertise in just good people. People help the community. And about 2 years ago, this area got hit by a horrible tornado. Mm-hmm. And at the time, my podcast, we were doing nonprofit. I'm over at the office with the Enrights. We're putting together a food drive. All of a sudden, his buddy calls, Gary Funk. He's like, a tornado just hit my street in New Jersey, Mansfield, Mullica Hill, New Jersey. I was like, your buddy's lying. He must be drinking. Tornado really hit. I had the show. I was like, if you're going, I'm going. So I canceled the show. I ended up in Mansfield for 2 weeks with them. They were just helping people just out of the kindness of their heart. You know, they had the business, but it was like people lost houses. You saw people crying. You saw people literally, you know, we were hugging people.
Really?
I remember the worst person I saw, this person on the block who didn't lose their house. I'm like, why are you crying? You didn't lose your house. And she's like, because I sat in my basement. I prayed for my house not to get hit.
Wow. And
all my neighbors got hit, and I didn't pray for them. She was just crying, old lady. We were handing out flowers, shaking hands, kissing babies. No babies, but you know.
It's wild because I actually moved to the area about 2-3 weeks after that happened. And like that main road is how I get to my house. And it was wiped away. No fences, no nothing. And for like a year or two after, all you saw was like a fence sign, this type of builder sign, this type of construction sign. Like, and it was all up and down that whole road was just wiped away. And I'm like, dude, like my house is like a block away from this. Like we could get hit by tornadoes in New Jersey. Like it was a crazy thought. And like, knock on wood, there hasn't been anything since. We had a crazy storm last night, but no more tornadoes have touched down since.
Yeah, man, it was just crazy because I can relate to people at their lowest point. And them people were like, they had the same look I see people in Kensington going through drug addiction because they just lost everything. And they just, who thinks you're going to hit by a tornado? But I just wanted to mention that they were out there helping the community, doing a lot more than just work. They were hugging people, bringing food to people, making sure they had showers and electric and all that stuff. People were sleeping in their trucks, their workers, and working, you know, 48 hours straight. It was pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, it's awesome.
At the end of the day, you definitely want to be on the Enrights team.
Yeah,
because these are the guys that when shit hits the fan, they're gonna help. You know what I mean? They're the people that are doing food drives and you know, putting roofs on houses and helping when a tornado comes.
Yeah, and Beck's the Wife, they actually are starting a nonprofit that's launching in the next couple weeks to help people that are either were incarcerated or were in rehab and have a lot of trade skills to get them placed and to get them earning and to get job sites with top level performance. I might have had a checker pass that can help out the job site. So Bex is headlining that as well. So literally their entire family, like really great people. And they support us. They support the show. So it's awesome. And all I've met is good people since I met them. So really happy to speak on that. You want to tell anything else about your story? You want to get into the license card?
So my story, man, I grew up, I went to Clearview High School, played football. You know, I got into high school, got out of the short bus, was on a regular bus.
All right, there you go.
Did pretty good, but sports was my thing. I started realizing in high school, you know, I had the size and stuff that football could be my ticket if I really focused on it. And I got some scholarships my senior year. I got hurt real bad, but I tried to fight through it. I got in a horrible car accident, shattered like both legs. Oh. They told me to take the year off. But
what happened with the car accident?
So I fell asleep on Breakneck Road over Mullica Hill, horrible road. I crashed. It was actually a crazy story. I crashed. I had to crawl out of the car. I was in ICU for 2 weeks.
Where did you crash?
It was Mullica Hill, Mansfield area. And I hit like a little bridge, fell down.
You hit the bridge?
Yeah, it was like a little country bridge. I went into a creek. I had to crawl out. It was
So you went off the airborne?
Yes.
Wow.
It was so bad. I had to crawl to a house. Gino Pasavia's brother Dom, he passed away. They owned National Paintball back in the day. I actually crawled to his house. It took me 2 hours. They actually gave them, the township gave them a award for saving my life. So
wow.
Imagine me knocking on your door, you know, like 2 a.m. I didn't know where I was. My jaw was broke. But I could still see football in my future. So I went like D2. I got hurt. I couldn't, you know, some of the schools I wanted to go to, I wasn't healthy enough. I went out there and just playing hurt and everything, man. And doctors were just feeding me.
This is
pain
after
pills.
the accident?
Yeah, I still tried this was 2006.
How old were you at this time?
18.
18, okay, so senior high school?
Yeah, December 19th, 2005.
So what happened with the accident?
My 18. So I ended up at Cooper Hospital. I was in a medically induced coma for a little bit. I spent Christmas there. I ended up having to do my senior year, half of it from home.
And this is from the head trauma?
Yeah. So I got a lot of head trauma. I broke like every bone in my face, just about my orbitals, eye sockets, all that. At the time, we didn't know as much about head trauma. My whole life, football, pro wrestling.
And at this point,
trauma.
you weren't doing the wrestling?
No, I grew up wrestling, amateur wrestling, but I wasn't doing pro wrestling. I was football at that time.
Wrestled at Paulsboro?
No, Clearview.
Clearview, that's right.
Yeah.
Where'd you wrestle, Dre?
Springfield.
Springfield? Okay.
Delco guy.
Yeah.
So I still went to college, man. I tried to do it, and I didn't know much about Ohio Dominican D2 out in Columbus, Ohio. Good program. But I shouldn't have been out there. I should have took the year off. It just hurt, man, trying to play football, and I was just away from home. I was just eating painkillers. The doctors back then, they didn't know. I remember running out of painkillers one time, and the next day, I'm a senior in high school, and I'm in a wheelchair at this point. I went back to school for like the last 2 months, and I remember I like was tired and I was shaking, and the principal came up. He's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like I couldn't sleep. I was hot. I was cold. I was going through withdrawal. I didn't know what it was.
What year is this?
2006. So I got in an accident December 2005.
It's the Oxy 80 era, baby.
I was right in the middle of it all.
And that's what it led to. They didn't give me that first. They gave me Percocet, but he just said, "You need more. Just get more."
Yeah.
He didn't tell me anything. I didn't know what withdrawal was. I was naive to all this. And first person told me was my principal. He's like, "Do you know anything about it?" I was like, "No." I was like, "I ran out." I was like, "I go to the doctor tomorrow. I'm all out." I was like, I was hurting a little more.
So at this point,
more.
what was the reason you were in the wheelchair still?
So I broke my fib, my tib, my ankle.
Gotcha.
I had a big like metal halo on my leg. My jaw was wired shut for about 8 weeks.
So I hate to keep interrupting, but how was what was the worst part?
Oh man, I love to eat. Having that jaw wired shut, man, and it was depressing because I was so close. I was in great shape. I finally knew my college football dream was, I was there. It was December. I was going to sign in like February. I was looking at some D1 schools. I knew I had a chance, man. I had the size. I was 6'3". I was a little underweight, but I finally I got up to like 230. I was looking at the bigger picture. I was like trying to find out what defensive ends in the NFL were.
Yeah.
So I was like, I got to put on another like 40 pounds. I could do this.
I have a buddy at the gym that he got hit with brass knuckles and broke his jaw, and he said that he would wake up and it was like having dreams that he was like suffocating and drowning, and he'd wake up and try to breathe, and he'd like try to force his jaw open and couldn't. And he said it was just like the worst, like
it's the worst feeling, not being able to breathe, and not being able to eat. You had to take a syringe thing with a little tube instead of a needle on the end and put it in the back of your mouth. And that's how I ate, man. Some days they would give me food and I would throw it. I was angry.
That's terrible.
So my head, like, why me? I used to say why me a lot. I think we do that when we're going through bad times. So I tried to do the football thing, and it just didn't. The painkillers got more and more. Came back to Jersey, and there was a while where I was going through it, early 20s maybe, and then finally I was like, let me get together.
So you went to
did like a year in college, man. It didn't work out.
And how did you just took your prescriptions with you?
Yeah, and then I was flying home. I remember being on airplanes bringing, and at this point I started getting them from the street.
Yeah,
I remember coming back with oxys on the plane. I remember doing them on the plane. Nobody flies to Columbus. It's like me and 5 other people. I'm sitting there on the plane. The stewardess comes by. I'm sitting there doing oxy 80s on the table.
Yeah. And
I bring them back for people. I'd get there. Like, I forgot. I did them all. And it was bad. And so I eventually came home. And
the Jones are gone.
I started to realize, I started to get it together a little, and then by the time I did,
this was 2006. Like he's a much better story now. This is a success story. That's why we're talking about this. We are not glamorizing drug use in any way. Don't think that at all, guys. This is back in 2006. This guy's an absolute walking tank right now, and this is why we're having him tell this story. So if anybody's going through this, you guys can relate that there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
If you want to ruin your life, do drugs. But it took me 2 times. I got off them, and after that, but I never really fixed the problems. We all have other problems. I went through some like PTSD from the accident, all this stuff, and losing my dream of football. So I never fixed the core problems. I just got off the drugs.
How'd you get off the drugs the first time?
I went to rehab, started doing some of the meeting stuff.
Where'd you go to rehab?
I got off the Malvern Institute out in PA.
Amen.
Great guy. Petey actually passed away. The 2 owners. It was tragic last year. And they were great people. They really helped me at one of my lower points. But I got drugs, but I never really did the work to find out why I was doing the drugs and stuff. And when I did get together, I was like, what do I want to do now? I didn't want to go work a 9 to 5. And I worked in a gym down in Atlantic City. I was living down there, and I met a guy, Tank Tolan. And he was on WWE for a little bit. Wasn't a big, was on there for a while.
What
a little
year is
bit.
this?
2010.
Okay.
And we were both trainers in the gym. I started talking to him and the pro wrestling thing. That's all I wanted to do. So I think when you finally get it back together, I go back to what do I want to do? That's all I wanted to do since I was 5. Getting off that short bus, seeing Hulk Hogan, the leg drop.
Hell yeah, brother.
That's what I wanted to do. So I had in the back of my head for like a year, and I really hit the gym hard. Really hit the gym. I didn't really tell anybody because who wants to, I'm like 23. What are you going to tell your mom you're quitting your job to go, wear spandex and do pretend fight? Like,
been there, brother.
Yeah, right? Yo, by the way, if you see Dre's training video, he loves himself some spandex.
I made my way to a tryout through Tank. He told me I went to an open tryout. They were filming like a reality show, Pretty Boy Larry Sharp's Monster Factory. I walk in, there's like 50 people. Every one of them, besides two, me and one other guy, had trained in wrestling for, pro wrestling, but they all wanted to come to the Monster Factory, but it was like elite. It was like going to Harvard if you were smart. I wasn't smart. My Harvard was pro wrestling Monster Factory, and they were giving out like 2 scholarships or whatever to come train. They were going to accept you, and I was like, I'm not going to get all these guys have been in rings. I didn't know how to run the ropes. I didn't know nothing, but they told me right from the beginning, we can teach you how to, run the ropes, throw a clothesline. Like, we want somebody who has an if factor, hunger, and I just went in there and acted like I was the baddest dude on the planet, man. I didn't care about any people. I was probably thick. I didn't talk to any of the people. I was there. I had that mindset, like, this is my door. I just needed somebody to open that door for me, and I was going to kick it in, and I was going to come. So I went there, and me and the guy, Steve Macklin, he did some WWE after that, and he's on TNA. I think he's a champion over there. At the end of the day, we ended up training with them, and I could feel it, man. So I was in that mode. I finally was off the drugs. I didn't clean up everything. My head was still a little mess, but the wrestling started coming like right away. I wanted to be there every day. That's all I did. I quit my job. I did tanning, worked out. I trained on the mat.
GTL?
Everything, man. I was going to outwork everybody. That's all I wanted to do.
Let's go.
I loved it, man. I was like, I'm going to be that Hulk. Somebody, 5-year-old kid's going to be watching me who's going through it. I want to inspire people, because when you go through stuff, you want somebody to look up and say, man, this is my outlet. Donnie Hart can do it. I can do it. So it drove me, man. My first year was probably my best year in pro wrestling. Probably not a good thing, but it went kind of downhill. But we're talking 2012 at this point, and I put a couple good years together. I thought I'd be signed by like year one. I wasn't, so it's a little disappointing. And then you start getting ego. I'm sure you know how it is. I'm signing autographs. 2 years before this, I'm out of football, strung out on drugs. Now I'm signing autographs, traveling, doing my dream. People are stroking my ego, and we get a little reckless. But I was holding it together, and then the worst day of my life, man. It was March 2014. My brother, big brother, he's the one who turned on the wrestling and be there for me when I came home. He passed away. He was traveling over. He quit his job, quit everything one day, and said he wanted more out of life. And he was just like a wanderer. He traveled the world, backpacking, meeting people, going to these little remote villages. He had like a little website. This was like before a lot of that stuff was big. He had a blog. And he got sick and just died. And we never got the answers, man. I tell people it wasn't him dying. Like, they said he got sick. He's in a remote village. There was a lot of stuff. They said they couldn't put him. They had to cremate the body. So we never got any of the answers. And me at this time, I want answers. I feel like that's what I needed. I didn't get it, so I went off the deep end quick, man.
What do you think happened to him?
I don't know, man. It wrapped my brain for, it put me through hell for like a year. I still would like some answers, but I moved on from it. I can't do nothing about it. And I feel like it's inspired me. I feel like there's always a bigger. I used to ask why. Even like, it sent me down such a bad path. When I got in trouble, I ended up getting in trouble because I didn't get the answers. It's beyond me. I don't know what happened. Yeah. I got sick. Could have been anything. But I'm all right today with not knowing the answers. I'm in the right mindset. But that
where was he?
Cambodia.
Oh wow.
I hate Cambodia. But I remember after it happened, I'd meet somebody from Cambodia and I'd try to rip their head off. But I was in a bad spot. Even I see people like smiling down the street, I wanted to fight them. I'm like, why are you smiling? My brother died. I didn't know who I was.
Yeah.
And it took me down a dark path. I think I went back to what I knew how to get out of reality, and that was these pills that I thought I defeated. At the time, I wasn't hooked on them, but I just wanted to get out of reality. And like this, man, overnight. I was doing the wrestling, man. I was that close. Actually, the day I found out he died, I was walking to the arena in West Virginia. Scott Steiner, I was wrestling with him. My brother was all excited, and they called me. I was the first person to find out. I walked in that arena, and I got the call. Then I had to tell my family. I left the arena, didn't even get to meet Scott Steiner that night. And I had to drive home like 7 hours, knowing I lost, the closest person to me. It just took you. You've been through bad times. You've been through some stuff, man. Unless you've been there, it's really hard to explain. It was just chaos. I don't remember some of it, but long story short, on me making the worst decision of my life, man. Guess like July 2015, so it was a year later. I got arrested for armed robberies. I was robbing pharmacies, the gun, mask, everything to feed this prescription. I was selling the pills, doing the pills, everything. I just wanted to get out of reality. And I landed in Camden County Jail facing life in prison, man. And that was my rock bottom,
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, it was like a year before that. I'm in magazines, I'm on the paper, local boy making it good. And then like that, I lost it all. And I remember I went to court one day and the judge, I was still in such a dark place.
So
I'm
you're
in maximum security, just like anger. I'm fighting people. I don't care.
in Camden.
I was happy to be there because I was away from the chaos. I was in the control. I was happy.
So you were
I was
at
with
this
killers,
point,
and I felt like,
you're sober in jail.
yes.
Yeah.
But I'm fighting. I just don't care. I'm happy to be there because life was so crazy. It was either that or death. So like saving my life, the craziest thing. And a couple months, I go to court, and the judge, they offer me a deal. They call it a deal. 40 years. They got a Near Act in Jersey, violent crime. You got to do 85%. They said they didn't want to offer me a deal. They wanted to go to trial and put me in prison for life, but they're going to offer me one deal only. So it was a major crimes case. And the judge told me that day, he's like, I turned it down. He's like, how old are you? I told him like 30, I think. He's like, you can get out in 34 years, or you can go to trial, and you can probably die in prison if you lose. When he said that, die in prison, first he told me to take 40 years, I had to do 34.
Which in your head is essentially life.
Yeah, that was life.
It's Viva la Mexico, bro.
Yeah.
We out.
I'm not living to 50. Yeah, that's where Mexico.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
So I just remember, and the worst thing, I did a dumb thing. I gave an interview to the paper that came. My case was in the media. And at the time, I just didn't take responsibility. I gave a interview where I claimed my innocence. They put me on the front page of the Daily News, me flexing with this crazy mace with my mohawk, all jacked up, looking like a nut. And they wanted me to, after that, I swear, man, prosecutors, the judges, I said I was innocent. They went on the front page, and I was like public enemy #1. You would have thought I was Hulk Hogan. I never got that much press until I got in trouble. You would have thought I was the hottest pro wrestler in the world. I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't really anybody. But they played it up. It sounded good as like against the ropes. There was a picture of me against the ropes. My name was Reckless, so they said Reckless in the ring and now allegedly out of the ring. I'm like, man. And that's when I said, when he said that, I went back to my cell. When he said he'd die in prison, I was like, I got to come up with a game plan. My bail at that time's close to $1 million. Wow. I was like, I got to get out of jail first. I got to put the pieces together from out of here. So he hired a lawyer just for my bail. They got my bail together. Long story, it took a little bit. I got out on bail. I did like 8 months in Camden County waiting.
Who paid the bail?
A lot of family came together. Yeah. We had to put up deeds. A lot of people, I'm always be grateful for.
Yeah.
And I got out. I'm still, it didn't happen like overnight. I'd love to say I got out and I was like, yeah, I'm going to save the world.
Yeah.
It was hard, man. I got out and I knew what I had to do was find out. First, I thought I was like this horrible, what kind of monster does this? Scares people, doing all that. I was doing a lot of stuff, a lot of assaults, I love violence, man, at the time, because it was just like my outlet. I wasn't happy, so nobody was going to be happy. I remember fighting somebody because they showed up at my brother's funeral. I didn't think they should be there. That's just how I was. Got a lot of assaults.
I'm literally getting like goosebumps, like thinking that there's people in the world that like you have no idea like who's having a bad day and like what they're capable of at any moment. It's like that's why you always got to be kind to people, and like everybody has a story, and there's no ever reason to be a dickhead to somebody because again, you don't know when that person could put you in the ground the next move that you make. So it's scary, but. In this instance, like he hasn't gotten to the end of the story, but I know the story ends well based on what I heard about the guy. But it's definitely scary knowing, especially like you said, you don't know who trains, you don't know the skill level of people, and there's a lot of people that can assassinate you within seconds of your, breathing.
Absolutely, man. You never know what somebody's going through. That phrase you hear a lot, but it's the truth. Anyway, I get to that point. I got a lawyer for my case, and they start sending me to some doctors and stuff, and they really start. The head trauma was I started learning about head traumas.
Was it
pro
CTE?
wrestling. So you can't give somebody out until they're dead. You can't really diagnose it. But I saw a lot of doctors, and that's basically, I had a lot of the symptoms, and I went through stuff. I'm like, I took responsibility for everything. That's the biggest thing I had to do. At the end of the day, I'm a man. I said, I'm going to take responsibility. It was in the beginning. I'm taking responsibility. I'm not telling on anybody. I'm not no rat. They're scumbags. If I had to die in prison, I'm going to do it my way. But let me try to put something together positive before I do it. So once I started learning, I was like, all right, I did this. I'm not that horrible. I went through this one. It was like a year period where it was just so much of my life happened. I just went off the deep end. And, it might have been from the hits to the head. I've done a lot of stuff with that, worked with some great nonprofits, Mind Your Brain Foundation over at University of Penn. I really dug into the head trauma. So I think that definitely had a lot to do with it, man. I had so many concussions. Football, I was like a wrecking ball. Fighting, football, chaos, man. My life was chaos, and I loved it. Loved it, absolutely.
Now
loved
the
it.
head
At the
trauma
time.
thing, that's a subject, especially in MMA space. Now, Dre, like, what school of thought are you in? Like, Holloway doesn't even have physical contact when he spars. Like, do you just go all out, or is there a set standard when somebody trains with you that they have to follow?
No, heck no. I think that, like, the fact of the matter is there's a ticker in your brain, whether it's you get 1 million ticks or you get 100,000. I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But what I do know is you only have so many hits to the head.
Right.
Like, I don't know what the number is, but there's a number.
Yeah.
With that being said, I want them to count. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I want, just from my experience, like, I want them to be in the ring on fight day.
Right.
Now, does that mean I don't spar? No, of course I spar.
Yeah.
But I think that I'm 10 years into my MMA career.
Right.
How many more you know what I mean? So I try to be smart about it. But I think it's important to be game and ready to throw down whenever for me.
Yeah.
But I have good coaches, and my coach is like, no, we're not going to spar 4 days a week.
Right.
It's just not necessary.
And now, like, how does that conversation go from the fans' perspective? This is stuff that I always wonder. Like, is it each guy you have a conversation before you spar, like, yo, we're going to go 50-50, or is it kind of just implied?
I think that at this point in our careers, for the most part, we know who's capable of going light and who's not.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I know this guy, and I know that he doesn't go light, so I'm not going to spar with him at this point in the camp. I'm going to save him for 4 weeks before the fight. You know what I mean? So I think we just know who is. But you can certainly try to have those conversations, like, yo, today, like, let's work on this.
Yeah.
Today, let's go to war. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think
how common is it that somebody will get, like, knocked out during a sparring session?
For the most part, we're wearing headgear and 16-ounce gloves.
Okay.
So I'd say they're rare. But, a common schedule would be to do 1 day of big glove training and 1 day of little glove training.
Okay.
Now, when you do the little glove training, you're supposed to be working on other things like grappling and stuff, but that's when the knockouts happen.
Okay.
You get caught in the moment and you land a flush shot with little gloves.
Yeah. So now going into the gym that day, like when you're driving in your car, like are you hyping yourself up like today's little glove day? Like
even on big glove day.
Even on big glove day. Yeah.
Got on your calendar, little glove day, big glove day, mark it with a star.
It's wild to me because, again, like getting to know Dre more and more every week, and it's just like knowing that he has this side. Like sometimes I mess up, like, you know what I mean? He's a good friend of mine now where I'll say stuff to you and I forget that literally, like, he's an actual killer. Like, I'll mess around, I'll send him stuff, and it's like, I forget, dude, this guy, like Aaron said last week, like, it's harder to make the UFC and be in a top 20, top 25 like Andre than it is to make the Philadelphia Eagles, bro. And it's like, I feel like because UFC fighters are so accessible, and, there's so many people that go into a camp and to make it that we forget how skilled of athletes and how high of a level of athlete you guys actually are. So yeah, it's just wild to me.
But circling back.
Circling back.
Yeah, so I got out of where were we back?
So you did the foundations.
Yeah, man, that was the biggest thing.
Nonprofits.
I realized, once I realized, I wasn't this month, maybe a little bit of months, but I realized why I did this stuff. I wasn't a horrible guy. I lived a pretty good life besides that 1 year. I was still facing, end of the day, no matter how much good I did, I knew at the end of the day I couldn't change the past. I accepted that. It was horrible, man. I think even friends and family didn't really realize at the time. Sometimes maybe I was a little off from them. Honestly, I couldn't get married. I couldn't have a kid. That was like my one thing, because I knew, what am I going to do? Have a kid, get married, and then knowing Judgment Day is going to come.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do that. So just imagine knowing, I'm at that age where I wanted that. So even relationships, all that stuff, I kind of let people not get too close. I looked happy, but I knew I was ready to face it. But who wants to do life in prison? In the beginning we were talking, joking around, the Mexican, I'm going to escape, I'm going to run away. But no, at the end of the day, I'm like, I'm going to accept this. But before I went away, my goal was, let me leave a lasting thing. If I do go to trial, I lose, I get life in prison. Let me leave. I don't want my last memory to be that nut who got arrested, failed at pro wrestling.
So why was it life in prison? So was someone killed in the?
No, so I had five pharmacy robberies, 5 counts of robbery, and I had all the gun charges. When they counted up everything, I had aggravated assaults. They hit me with the drug distribution. came over like 200 and some years.
So,
They ran it all together.
so they were able to go back and tie every robbery. Like, was there footage? How did they know that you were that you did?
Yeah,
all
how'd
those
you get
robberies?
caught?
So July 28th, the day after my brother's birthday, after he had been gone for like a year, I was on my way to the gym. I was still, even when I was doing this, I still looked good. I was going to the gym every day. I was on my way to the gym. I had this Cadillac. I pull into 7-Eleven to get a water in my car, get surrounded. As soon as I see the cops and they're wearing suits, I know I'm fucked. And they found my DNA at a crime scene. That was the only thing they found my DNA, got left behind with like in the chaos, it was like a mask or something, a little headgear thing, and
Headgear.
no, a little beanie.
Okay.
I had a mohawk, so I had the beanie on, so you couldn't see my mohawk
So
from
they
the
got
back.
hair from the beanie?
Yeah, and it took maybe like a month for them the DNA came back and it hit me. They probably got it like a day before, and they were following me. I thought I was like paranoid. I knew I was getting followed. And
So
like a
when
day.
you're planning these pharmacies, do you do it during the day, at night? What did you have like a system?
So, when I talk about this, man, this is my lowest point. It's horrible, man. Just realize these things I talk about, if you take that path, man, you go down that way I went, you're going to end up, the end of the story was me sitting in prison, facing life. But I do them during the day. I would dress up in like a construction costume. It's funny because I do concrete now. During the day, 9 a.m., 10 a.m., broad daylight, construction outfit. Sometimes I had the headgear. I had a mask before masks were cool, and I went in there. I was in the right place, man. I just want people to know that. And I was ready to die, because death was probably better than the life I was living. I was in such a dark place, and I would just go in there and
just random pharmacies.
Yeah, sometimes I would have one in mind, but yeah, it was a lot of random. And I put a lot of people through hell doing it, man. I can never go back and change that, but I can just live a good life today.
Do you remember every instance vividly, or did you black out while you were doing it?
No, man. Honestly, it was all. I don't feel like I'm even that same person. I feel like I was somebody else.
Yeah.
It was a blackout. I don't remember maybe 85% of it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It wasn't a drug. I wasn't like. I did the drugs before when I was in 20. I was like doing them because this time I wasn't. I was just doing them because I wanted to escape the world.
Do you remember the first time you robbed the pharmacy?
Yes.
What, by yourself?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Desperate,
man, and
nowhere else to go.
It was like at the time I don't think I wasn't doing pills, but I just wanted to escape this world. Yeah, I swear to God on my life, man.
You were sober.
Yes, and
when you
I maybe did like something,
one.
but I wasn't like addicted to pills at that time. Swear to God, and I robbed just because I was in such my life. Like I said, you walk down the street, you want to punch somebody for smiling that you don't know. Something's not ticking up in the head, and I didn't know what was going on. And I think a lot of it had to do with the head injuries, whatever it was. And that I still take responsibility for it, but it led to me facing all this time. And then come 2020, because of COVID, I had to go do some time in PA. There was robberies in PA. It's a long story. They let me do about a year in PA, and then I got out and I was.
Where were you in PA?
I was in Eagleville, PA. It was a 1-2. It was a county bid, their longest county bid. So it was Montgomery County. It was sweet. And
isn't there rehab Eagleville?
Yes, right in front of that's where the prison is, or the jail.
Yeah.
Is that why it was sweet? Because they had the rehab connected?
The rehab was, you couldn't go to the rehab.
Oh, okay.
But, I went from Camden County. I know I might have to go to prison.
If you got armed robbery, you don't get the rehab offer.
Yeah.
I got the rehab offer, but.
Yeah.
So, it's crazy. Cause
wait, you did armed robbery?
No, hell no.
Okay.
You don't get the rehab offer if you do armed robbery.
We all know Andre's picture. Everybody knows his story. Yeah.
Yeah, and so anyway, I was like, let me figure something out. And that's when the nonprofit, man, I was like, I want to do something in my brother's honor. And 2020, I founded Hungry for Hope. And we started off, we did podcasts, and we're a nonprofit. I wanted to find the people who felt like I was, and people walking down the street who wanted to hurt people. People went through something. Because, people didn't know what I was going through. I remember family members calling. I remember girls I was with calling family, and they're like, I'm talking to family. They're like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know, but it's going to end bad. I knew it was going to end bad. They did, but they got me appointments for doctors. I remember sitting outside a doctor's office. I had an appointment at like 11 o'clock. I get there 10:30. I didn't get out of the car. 11 comes around. I stay in the car. 11:30, I pull out. I want to get out of that car. If I got out of that car and I went and talked to somebody who could have told me what was going on, I might have saved, years of my life, all that headache. But I couldn't do it, man, because I was in I just wasn't ready. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't come to terms with my brother's death. That was the big thing. By 2020, this all changed, man. I was doing good, but I wanted to do more because I knew if you can't go back and change what you did, what's the next best thing? To live a good life and to help make sure nobody else does what Donnie Hart did. That was my thing, man. I was like, let me find out if I stop one kid from going and becoming a pharmacy robbery or anything, going through that horrible, sitting there wanting to hit somebody because they're smiling. It's just a horrible feeling, man. Not knowing what's going on in your own head. So I was like, if I can just help one person, that would be my reward for, doing all this horrible stuff I did. So it started one, I just kept on going. A lot of great people. The Enrights were involved. We did the nonprofit. We had the podcast. We brought on people, a lot of pro athletes, people with inspirational stories. We went out to find where the people were. Kensington. Actually, I never even gone to Kensington my bad time. They were my first times there, and I connected with the people so good because they're at their lowest. Yeah. I just went right to the pharmacy. Why go to the drug dealer? I skipped the middleman, and it's funny, but it's not. Because I was just a violent place. I never went to the drug dealer. I went to the pharmacies, though. The pharmaceutical companies, but I'm not trying to be no hero for that. But they're scumbags anyway.
For sure.
But the people working there, they're not. They're people who I terrified people. I put through hell, man. And that stuff I always live with, but I'm all right with.
Now, have you ever come face to face with any of the people that were involved in the robberies?
No. I was, I won't talk too much about one time, I'm doing good. I'm hanging around a lot of successful people, even people, all force people, but I'm still facing this trial. So it was like prior to almost a year, I was about to get the deal, 2022, 21. I'm out to dinner with some.
And at this point, you had already done the year in PA?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 years, but I got paroled after a year.
Okay.
And I already had like about a year and a little less than that in Camden County. So I already got almost 2 years time. They gave me all credit for that.
Okay.
And one time at the dinner, a lot of local people, some people you guys probably know, good people in the community who helped me get through this, hang around people you want to be like. So I started hanging around them people. And I remember we're at the dinner one time and somebody brought a cousin. I didn't know the guys. Like, my cousin's going to join us. We're all eating dinner at this nice Italian place. The guy starts talking. I'm sitting there. I got a drink. And he's like, yeah, 25 years on the department. And he says the police department. He was like a captain or whatever. It was one of the police departments arrested me. I had no idea this was the guy who had arrested me because I was in such a dark place. And this was one of the guys who,
Did he recognize you?
So he starts introducing everybody, and everybody's like, hey, I'm, Bob, whatever. And I just shook his hand. I didn't say my name because he had just said what he was. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, maybe you don't recognize me. I had the mohawk back then. I look a little better. Probably not as crazy looking.
Yeah, you're not.
He knew exactly who I was, and he told me
you're not a memorable guy.
And he reached out to some of the people we're with. He reached out to his cousin. Man, I'm grateful for them people. And he found out what the hell I've been doing since that. And he found out. He looked into me, man. Thank God, because most people they probably would have won an axe around. But he's like, let me find out more. He really did his job great, and realized like, hey, this person did horrible stuff, but he's worth saving. He actually had to call his bosses, tell him he sat with me. It was like I hear from my buddy like a week later.
What was this guy's name?
I can't say that.
Okay.
I don't want to throw him under the bus.
That's fine. Yeah.
But we end up meeting, and he's like, "This is the first time." I never cooperate because I just wanted to take responsibility. At the end of the day, my part of my healing was to take responsibility. If you blame other people, you're just a low life. You're not taking responsibility. So I never had met with cops. I always said I want a lawyer, but he wasn't on my case anymore because they gave it up to like the prosecutor's office. And he met with me, and he just said, "It's amazing what you're doing." He's like, "I've never done this."
How did he contact you?
Through our mutual friend.
Got you.
And then we actually met at our mutual friend's birthday party at the same place. He took me to the side, and we sat down and we talked. And he said, "This is the first time I ever did this." He pulled out his card, but he gave his personal cell phone number. And he was getting ready to leave the force, and he's like, maybe we can do some stuff together with your nonprofit and all that. And just having this guy, that really like gave me that extra light. And I knew I was still gonna have to go to prison, but having this guy who actually, saw the good in me, and this was the guy who put the handcuffs on me.
Yeah.
That was big for me. And then probably like 3 months later, I had to go face the judge, man. At this point, I did so much. In the back of my head, I wasn't doing this stuff to get a good sentence, but it's just what I wanted to do because worst case scenario, if I had to go away forever, I wanted to leave that legacy. Well, we got a new prosecutor on the case. The judge retired who told me I was going to do life in prison. All this stuff happened. COVID. All these years went by, and I wasn't public enemy number one. They forgot about the guy on the front page with the mohawk who said he was innocent, And now they see the guy who's every weekend I'm out in Kensington. I'm helping people. And it was my passion, man. Nothing better. People always ask, what's the best part of pro wrestling? It was helping, going to Special Olympics, helping people down and out, talking to kids, man. I went to funerals because some of the kids I visited who were sick. Super Adam comes to mind. Jesse, man, kids with Down syndrome. It was amazing because I'm like, this little kid who took the short bus can have the ability to affect this kid, the way they look at you, and it was amazing, man. And I kind of got some of that back when I started helping people and doing the nonprofit. I felt like, hey, man, I'm doing my favorite part of pro wrestling, helping people.
Yeah, you got a purpose again.
Yeah, and they ended up giving me 8 years, but they were able to downgrade the violence so I didn't have to do the 85%. And I went to Southwood Prison in 2022, and I ended up doing 3 years total, but I already had 2 years in. This is my offer before that. They did go down. They gave me one more offer in between, but this is case one. They went down to 25 years at one point, and then they were stuck on 10 with the 85%. And then like the last deal, I remember my lawyer, I was actually with one of the Enright brothers, and I got an email, and he's like, this is the offer. This is, I couldn't believe he was asking me. He's like, let me know if you want to take it. I just sent one email. I'll take it. And I went home. I was like, I got to go home, man. Said, what do you mean? I was so emotional. I went home and he's like, want to go celebrate? I was like, no, I sat in my room and because when you're going through that, like, I didn't have cancer or anything, people dying, but I felt like my life was on the line. Like, I didn't know if I was going to see my end of my 30s outside of a prison cell, man. It's hard. It makes it, it's hard. Just put it that way, And finally that was over. I got to go to the prison, and that was something else. Because now when I told you I went to Camden County the first time, I was a menace. I felt like I fit in with these killers, and I'm in maximum security, 5 North D, Camden County, 85% killers there. And they put me there because I have a high bail and stuff. And I fit in. I didn't care. You saw everything there, man. Stabbings. Wasn't even fighting. It was usually stabbings. Well, I had to go there when I took the deal. I had to sit there waiting to go to prison. And this time I didn't want to be there. I'm with the same. They put me back on. I was like, no, I took a deal. They're like, no, you're still maximum status. So that was horrible because COVID, I sat there for 2 months. Then I get to state prison. And I'm her walking in the state prison.
This is in Jersey, obviously.
Yes, Jersey.
Yeah.
So before they sent me to Southwood, I had to go to Yardville. It's like Kraft and general reception. They get naked. They do all this stuff. They kind of like let you know they're boss. So I walk in. I think they put some like mock smock on me. And you got to get your stuff before you get shipped out. You can take like some legal paper and stuff. And they got to check it the day before, and then they give it back to you when you get there. And I walk up to the thing. The guy looks at me. He's like, I got one fucking question. I'm like, what the fuck? He's like, what was your finish move? What was your finishing move, Mr. Reckless?
Oh my goodness.
And I'm like, what? He's like, what was your fucking finishing move? I'm like, running power slam. He's like, all right. And he hands me his stuff. I go to the next guy, and they make you like do something where you got to put your face. I couldn't hear him, so I go like this. And they want to be in control. So when I did, he's like, what the fuck? You trying to kiss me, boy? And I'm like, and then when you walk on the prison at Southwood, when I got there, you walk on this compound. It has its like own area code, I think. It's enormous. Even though I was happy that I finally took responsibility, it was like, I was like, man, this is where that the stuff I talked about earlier, that's where it leads you, man. My friends were having kids. My friends were starting business. I had good friends. I still do. And there I am walking into Southwood prison, my little knapsack and, with killers, man. I was on a block with killers, like guys who weren't going home. And, that's where all that chaos I talked about, that's where it leads you.
Now, during this time, would they try you? Now that you're a big dude, obviously, or would they let you keep to yourself? Like, what was that time after you had this epiphany like?
Still, even though you go back there, even though you put me in the jungle, I'm a lion. And even though I don't want to live like that, I'm going to be a fucking lion.
Yeah.
And even though violence ain't the answer, you bring violence to me, I'm going to beat you every time. So I did have to feel like after they know who to test.
Yeah.
So there's a couple times where I had to prove myself. And I don't want it because my biggest picture is I got to get parole.
Right.
I got an 8-year sentence, but I can do 3.
Mm-hmm.
I already got 2 in. If I get in a fight, I can end up doing 8 years on this.
Or if you kill somebody, you could end up in your life. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I had to be careful, but I wasn't ever going to let anybody get over on me, nothing like that.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, I did it, and it sucked, but in my picture there, I remember I was going for parole. They asked me, they're like, they try to get you when you do the parole. They try to get you off guard. I gave them all this positive stuff I was doing. First thing, I'm thinking of things they might ask. First thing they do is they bring up a picture of my mugshot when I went to prison. They're like, you're smiling. They're like, you think this is funny? They're like, why are you smiling? And I was like, because this was like the end, me finally answering up for what I did. So it was a happy moment when I went to prison because I knew I was sort of like at the end of the tunnel. And they looked at me, they're like, all right, kid, you know your stuff. But that was the truth.
Yeah.
You know, I had to smile because I was like, I didn't want to go, but I knew I had to. I knew it could have been a lot worse, man.
Yeah.
I got lucky. You know, I had a lot of good people supporting me. Other people might not have had that same opportunity I did. And I did a lot of work, don't get me wrong. I didn't get in trouble. I haven't been in trouble. That's my biggest accomplishment. I haven't had a parking ticket since 2015. No trouble at all. Nothing. Been on parole, probation, perfect. And that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
Especially like violence. You know, sometimes I had to walk away from stuff, but I don't ever plan on getting in trouble. I've showed that for over 10 years. I think that's like one of my greatest accomplishments. I've done a lot of other stuff in that time, but I go back. That's one of my because that shows them prosecutors and judges who gave me a chance that it was worth it.
Do you have like one lesson or piece of advice that someone gave you in prison that stuck with you?
You know, just if you think you got it bad, you think I was always asking why me, why me, why me, and I started getting these letters from a lady I met once. I went to high school with her son. He owns Bean to Bean Cafe in Philly. Great guy, but I met his mom like once. She's a little Italian lady from New York, real Italian. And I'd met her one time, but I guess I left an impression. And she started writing me. And I'm like, what is this? I was throwing the letters away. I didn't want to read them. And she said, you got purpose. You know, you're going to get out one day. I'm facing life. She told me, you're going to get out. Because I was asking myself, why? She's like, this is what the plan. This was supposed to happen. For whatever reason, your brother is supposed to die. I know you don't want to, but there's something bigger, and somebody's using you because they know you're strong enough to get through all this. You're that soldier, whatever, somebody greater than me picked to go through all this. So maybe down the road one day, somebody looks at me who's not as strong as me, and they get through because of me. But she's like, you're going to get out of prison. You're going to be with me. We're going to do great stuff. 5 years later, we're there in Kensington. This little tiny lady, you know, she's well off. I had to tell her, you know, I can't bring her little fancy purses. She was there with me. She never went through this. She had some family went through it, but she's a little 5'2", 200 pounds. She's in Kensington. Everything she said came true. So I'm like, she was having all the people at her church pray for me and everything. And you can believe in stuff. I know something greater than me is working on this because this lady I met one time, she's like the closest person in my life, one of them right now, because she told me, when your mom tells you your dad, that's what they do. What are you going to tell your kid? Like, you're worth it. But when somebody you only met once sees something in you, it's a whole different game.
Yeah, they were put there for a reason.
Yeah, and it wasn't one time. She kept on writing these letters, and I wasn't writing back.
Yeah.
I was like, she must be on worse drugs than me. Not realizing this lady was a saint. And that was like one of the things that saved my life, but just her telling me, you went through this was on purpose. So I didn't say why. I was like, why not me? You know, I'm strong enough for this. Let's fucking go. I could take it all, and there's something bigger, and I still feel like I haven't hit that yet. I feel like greatness is still coming in my life. I love my life today. I'll never, ever be there with the great people in my life, man, all these amazing people, if I didn't go through all that stuff. Maybe if I didn't go through that, my life would have been worse if I stayed on the path of wrestling. Maybe I needed all these lessons. I learned all my best lessons from my worst times, if that makes sense to you.
Yeah, without pain, there is no change.
Absolutely.
We're not going to change.
It's wild. Honestly, and we got to get into the card. We got like 10 minutes left of the episode, but honestly,
real quick though, wrap up. Where are you at today? Give us the hope.
So, man, the hope is I love my life, man. I look at myself in the mirror. That's the biggest thing. And I love who I am. I'm not where I want to be because it was still hard getting out of prison. Even I got a lot of momentum them years, and then I had to go to prison. So it was like starting a nonprofit back, the podcast, all that stuff. When I first got out, it was hard to get back into it because now I finally, I wish that I wouldn't have to go to prison life, but when it actually happened, I'm like, I didn't expect that. I was like expecting to do life in prison. And today I love it, man. I do concrete. I'm getting back into Hungry for Hope, man. That's my passion. That's what I love. I just want to reach out and help people. I couldn't be happier with my life, the people in it. My story's just begun. I've done a lot of great stuff since, and I'm just so grateful.
So talk to me about the Hungry for Hope. What real quick, what's this?
So Hungry for Hope was basically what I wish was there for me. 'Cause sometimes people talk to you. You might hear somebody come, a doctor in a suit or somebody, but I feel you can relate to somebody who went through something. Sometimes
Sure.
you can't hear the sermon, somebody preach it. You got to see them live it, and people connect. I feel like if I talk to somebody, a young kid who's going through hell, and they look at me and they kind of look up to me. And I did pro wrestling or whatever, and I'm doing good. And I tell them, hey, I went through hell, man. They can listen. And maybe just that one thing, like Susan Pastor writing me them letters telling me, this was the plan, like something greater for me. That's what I want to do. I wanted to give back what she gave me, what some other people gave me. I just wanted that one person. I feel like we've done a lot more than just one person, but I wanted to just do something to bring hope to people who were hopeless, because I was hopeless, man. Hungry for hope. I had no hope, man. You run into a pharmacy with a gun and a mask on, threatening to kill people for prescription pills. There's no hope in that, man. There's no hope. That's rock bottom. Rock fucking bottom.
As I'm sitting here, and this is what I was alluding to, so personally, like seeing your story, and you're saying for a reason, right? So like personally, like if you guys have been following my other show, I have like some health issues that I've been, afraid to deal with, right? With my stomach, with my groin, like I have some things going on, and I've just been terrified to go to the doctors, like and this has been going on for years and just keeps getting worse. And like literally, like you said, sitting in the parking lot, and it was a different thing. One was mental health, one's physical health, but like no matter what, I can't bring myself to actually like enter and get checked on. It just keeps getting worse, keeps getting worse. And like in my head, I'm terrified. I'm like, is it cancer? Is it this? Like hopefully, it's just like a hernia or something like that. But now it's affecting my workout where I put on weight. And like I'm seeing you being strong enough and talking about like the hope for the future. And it's like I've had goosebumps over here the whole time. You guys check, like I've been sweating because like this has hit me in a certain way that not necessarily it was supposed to with, going to jail and stuff like that. But now it's like telling me in my head, like, dude, like you gotta, like people are strong enough to do all these obstacles in their life. And like you can't go and do something you've been doing since a child and just go get yourself checked out. And these people that care about you and look at you in the future, like, it's like it's helping me like get the courage enough to actually make the appointment in my head now. And this whole time, that's literally what I've been going back and forth thinking. So you say that you might be here to help somebody. And maybe this is my moment. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with me, but like it's hitting me right now in this moment that I need to do what I need to do to like stay healthy and to take care of myself. And maybe this was the moment. I don't know. But
hell yeah, brother. I'm glad you came on today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
We do want to touch on the card a little bit. We got to do our blue light knockout of the week. Gutier against Medina. Did you see that fight?
What? Gutier knocked Medina out.
Yeah, he was using him as a punching bag, and then he hit him with the knee. And we're gonna put the clip up for you guys. Blue light. Woodbury, New Jersey, can open suit in Gloucester City, New Jersey, guys. Go check them out. You guys know, call it the blue light knockout of the week. Because they got that special product that can put you to sleep, baby. So
what are they, the dispensary?
Yeah, so
I've heard about
that, man. Right there, yeah.
Yeah, I heard good stuff.
They got everything, man. Anything you need, check them out.
Yeah, so this week, obviously, we're going to do things a little different. This was a heartfelt episode. So we're not going to be able to touch on this week's upcoming card, but Pat Sabatini, Andre's close to Pat. How do you feel about Pat's chances this week?
I love this fight. I think this is a great matchup for Pat. That's funny because Brito was out there in Mexico at the PI when we were training, and he's a power puncher. Like he's gonna come forward and come hard, and but Pat is so technical and he's got to stay technical. I think that like on paper, Brito lost to Bill Algeo, and Algeo was able to take him down, and I think if Pat is able to go into this fight and implement his game plan, he should win. On paper, I think Pat's better everywhere.
Yeah, and he has the one thing about Pat is always, that jumps out to me, at least from watching tape, is he always has a tendency to keep his chin in the air, and he seems that he's corrected that over his last couple fights.
Yeah.
And I mean, Brito's going to be coming in there swinging, throwing bombs. As long as he doesn't get caught and he can get the entry and he can get his hands wrapped against him, I think.
Yeah, so obviously, like, our coaches have been gone for the last month.
Yeah.
They were in London with Sean, and then they were in Mexico with Joey. So Pat's been working with Eddie, my head coach, for the past month. And
Eddie Torres, who will be a guest soon.
Golden Glove boxer, 18-0 professional Muay Thai. So a great striker. So Eddie's and Pat have been working on fixing a lot of those little tiny habits that make a huge difference.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited because I know what Eddie has done for my career.
Yeah.
Like my striking, if you look at my UFC debut and my striking, it was like very, very rough. And to where I can win fights against Adolfo
and again,
with striking.
You looked great. And dude, I riddled him with text messages about film all the time. So I'm very versed in your striking right now.
So I'm really excited to see what Pat's striking looks like from working with Eddie.
So you're anticipating that it's going to be a lot better.
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So that's cool. Any other fights you want to talk about in this card? I mean, obviously the main event, Murphy against Emmett.
Yeah.
Murphy.
I think obviously Emmett always has that knockout shot.
Yeah.
It seems like I remember the last time the UFC was in Philly was at the Wells Fargo Arena, and Josh Emmett fought who did he fight?
Josh was it not the Cater fight, right? Which one? What was the arena?
This was in Philly.
Who did
Wells Fargo? 2018, I would say.
2018.
Anyways, like it's the same thing. It would be like long lulls of low volume, and then he just lands this devastating knockout punch that just puts people to sleep.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And he always has that capability. But with that being said, recently, he's 40 years old.
Which is crazy because he seems like he's getting better every fight. Like
he's 40 years old, and he's fighting Leron Murphy, who has yet to lose, 15-0-1.
He's yet to lose on the scorecards, but I think arguably there's a couple splits there that I think he might have lost. So he's definitely beatable.
Nonetheless, he's going into this fight with the mindset that he hasn't been beat yet.
Like minus 330, I think.
I didn't look at that.
This guy would know.
Yeah, Jordan's
he's about minus 330. Yeah.
And I think that's not too far off from what it should be, to be honest. I fought on the same card. It's funny. I shared the locker room with Leron in Abu Dhabi. My second UFC fight, I fought in Abu Dhabi, and we shared the locker room. And he went out before me. He fought Amir Khani and
Makwan.
Yeah. And he was exciting to watch too.
Yeah.
And
he was a snake. He was lanky.
Yeah. And Leron was listening, was bumping Meek Mill in the locker room.
Really?
And I'm like, bro, I came all this way to listen to Meek Mill. So, and
does he have the accent?
Yeah, and he went out and landed a flying knee.
Yeah.
Makwan tried to take him down. He landed a flying knee and knocked him out. So, I like Murphy. I'll root for him.
Yeah. It's interesting because usually he's a point fighter, but against Emmett, I don't know if he's maybe we'll get to see some of those.
And I think he can implement a similar strategy that Yair did.
Yeah.
Against Emmett. So
Yair choked him out, I believe, right? Yeah, triangle, I think it was. I think he finished him with a triangle.
Yeah, but picked him apart in the striking at long range leading up.
I sent you that clip yesterday about managing distance. Like Yair's a master at that, and just there's so many nuances to this sport, and it's like the more I talk to guys, there's so many things that you watch a fight, and as a fan, you just don't even think about. Just like positioning your foot to make them think, okay, now this leg's there to kick, but then you put it back because you're set. Like there's just so many feints, and it's just so important to not ever develop a rhythm because again, another elite guy's gonna be across from you, and we talk about this all the time. It's just all about tricking the opponent, and because everybody is advanced, right? If you put somebody, they know how to strike, they know how to, do at least the basics if you put yourself in a vulnerable position, right? So it's just about having the IQ. And again, touch on the last card, Christian Rodriguez. He decided to go for a choke with about a minute left in a very close round one, and he basically just really hurt his career because this was a very important fight for him. He went up in a weight class, and he was winning the fight. He was the more experienced fighter, but that weight difference was huge. Costa was powering through positions that were usually dominant positions that you never see guys get out of, being fully mounted and just pushing him like he was a feather. So his fight IQ, he decided to go for a choke, ended up on the bottom, if you guys saw it, and he dominated in the third round, but ended up losing the first two because he gave up that position in round one. And I think the fight IQ really is a very important thing, and it really amazes me that at this stage in the game with as many fights as there are every weekend.
Well, which was my next point is Christian doesn't have a lot of fights.
Right.
So I think that fight experience comes with time.
Yeah. So you don't think you can just watch fights every weekend? And
I mean, it sounds good,
right?
But if you're not in there, and you don't have the people, emphasizing position over submission, let's win this round, it's tough.
It's easy to get lost.
And as far as the weight cut goes, I remember I'm pretty sure we were out in Vegas, and he was in the sauna with Anthony Pettis as his manager, and he was like dying to make weight. I think he missed weight for that fight.
Yeah,
and so I know he was struggling. You know, I don't know if it was discipline or for at the weight class below. So I'm assuming that's why.
I think he went over his last fight, and that was distance. But
obviously a talented fighter. He beat Raul Rosas. Like
that was he really showed it. And that Rosas, it's weird. Rosas is barely squeaking by. I don't know how he didn't go out. Like he literally decided, all right, I'm going out. Dude, his face was purple, and he still it was crazy.
Two different anaconda chokes that he managed to. The bell saved. Well, I would say the bell saved them on two of them, but they were good fights. But yeah, I mean, his fight was not exciting or not that great of a fight.
I think he needs to take some time. I think
it was okay. Yeah. But you're right. He is 20 years old. Like it's so crazy. At 20 years old, I was not anywhere doing what this kid's
How old were
doing,
you when you made your pro? What, 2018?
2018.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we're out of time. Anything else you want to touch on the card before we go?
You got anything to say?
The Pfeiffer thing was crazy, man.
Yeah,
we didn't even get into the Pfeiffer thing. I totally forgot about that.
Give him some, well wishes, man. I know he got sick out there in Mexico. That's all.
Yeah.
We'll let them talk about that on their podcast. We don't need to spread Pfeiffer's business. We did the live, right? So, guys, next episode we'll get back to basics. We'll talk about the card. We'll get there. But this is a very rare story that we wanted you guys to witness and hear. I appreciate you. He definitely got vulnerable here. I really appreciate that, brother.
Yeah, I just want to thank you and Andre, man. Anybody who listened, man, just remember, never give up, man. Something not like me can do, you can do. Never give up.
Awesome. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Tap out or cash out. Love you guys. Appreciate you.